But an invisible digital army can be every bit as deadly, capable of damaging the UK's national security. Taking on this unseen enemy is the job of the National Cyber Force, a joint partnership between GCHQ and the Ministry of Defence. Personnel are drawn together under one unified command from intelligence, cyber, GCHQ, the Ministry of Defence, MI6 and the Defence Science and Technology Laboratory. Their job is to disrupt hostile state activities, terrorists and criminals threatening the UK's national security.
We are involved in cyber operations on a daily basis. That can range from against serious and organised crime and child sexual exploitation, right the way through to countering disinformation that might be coming from troll farms, which is trying to undermine the very fabric of our society, and then preparing ourselves for some of the worst case high-end threats. But we're operating in cyberspace constantly and persistently, because this isn't like a military capability that you keep in reserve. You have to be engaged forward all the time to understand and to be able to deter the threat.
Our dependence on cyberspace makes us vulnerable to criminals, terrorists, hostile states and corporations. They can damage the economy, national infrastructure, steal secrets and affect the democratic process. But these tactics can be used by us in an offensive way too, as they were against Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. So
offensive cyber is that ability to change those, to manipulate systems and data. And if you want a real-world example of how we have done this, I tend to refer back to what we did to counter Daesh in Mosul and the battles around Raqqa. And what we found there was that Daesh, Islamic State, were exploiting cyberspace to recruit, to propagate a hateful ideology, to control their fighters, to exercise command and control, and to maintain their own morale. And that was a strength. It was a very novel way of executing a terrorist campaign. And we wanted to turn that strength into a weakness. So we began to attack their servers, to close them down in cyberspace, but also to disrupt their communications with their fighters and to fundamentally undermine their cohesion and their morale. And to do that in combination with physical maneuver in the air, in the ground, with Iraqi security forces, and the result you saw play out, which was very effective.
But cyberspace is a relatively new environment, and how we behave on offensive operations is still a topic for debate.
First completely artificially human-created domain, and it is not just a domain of military operations, it's an environment. It's what sustained us through the pandemic. It's what you and I are interacting over now. And offensive cyber involves exploiting the weaknesses of the internet for the purposes of your own national security, and that's absolutely necessary in certain circumstances. But it can't be completely detached from the need to secure the internet for our own purposes, so you and I can buy things safely, so we can exchange messages safely and so forth. And getting that posture absolutely right needs more debate. And I think one of the things we in the West, in the sort of rich, digitized, democratic rule of law countries need to be careful about is that on balance, in my view, others may disagree, but on balance, in my view, we have more to gain net from having a safer internet than we do by focusing mostly on exploiting the weaknesses of others. So it's about getting that balance right.
Cyberspace isn't just an issue for individual countries. Since 2016, NATO has officially recognised cyberspace as a domain of operations for the alliance, and one country is of particular concern.
It's become very apparent that Russia is attempting to subvert not only the operations of NATO in a military or organisational sense, but also the civilian infrastructures, including the electoral infrastructures in the members of the alliance itself. So I think it sees a very live, immediate and persistent cyber threat to NATO as an organisation and to its member states.
And as technology develops, that threat will only grow, meaning cyber is set to be an enduring feature in any future military conflict. Claire Sadler, Forces News.